Okay, let's continue with our book cover. We're going to open Photoshop, and you should have set this up on your last computer day, but in case you didn't, let's go ahead and do it now. So we're going to go to File, New, and as you will recall, the width is 10.75. The height is 7.25. Make sure you are on inches. A lot of you have been getting frustrated because you set up your documents and you're on something besides inches, maybe pixels or centimeters, and then you get this teeny tiny document. It's not right, and you have to start over. So make sure you're on inches for this. Our resolution is 300 pixels per inch. We're going to keep this in RGB color, and we're going to title this our last name, our first name, and book cover. And create. All right, now we're going to put our guidelines in. Remember, we need a spine in the center, so I'll help you with those guidelines. And we also need a bleed around the outside edges. If you do not see your rulers, remember you can go to View, Rulers. Also, make sure that you have nothing on Snap. So make sure you don't have a check mark here, and on Snap say None or Snap To. So nothing's going to snap, because that will make this more difficult for you. All right, so to get our spine, we're going to pull a guideline from the left ruler, and we're going to go to 5.5 or 5.5 and 5. And that will be our spine. Zoom in on this for you guys. By the way, if you don't get it exactly right, you want to go to the Move tool, and the Move tool will allow you to readjust these as needed. So now that I'm zoomed in, the 5.5 looks pretty good. All right, so those are the guidelines that will help us put that title in our spine. But we also want to do a bleed, and our bleed around the outside is going to be 1/8 of an inch. So I'm actually going to zoom in here so we can see our ruler really nicely. So 1 inch is from the 0 to the 1. If we go halfway in between, that's a 1/2 inch. Half of that is 1/4 inch, and half of that is 1/8. So our 1/8 inch is this mark right here. Right there. Okay? If you need to zoom in to see that on your rulers, then do that. So I'm also going to pull one down this way. So there's 1/4, and then going halfway between 0 and 1/4 is 1/8 right there. Go to the other end of the book. And moving down to the bottom. This one's a little trickier because we don't have a whole inch at the end, but just put it at 7 and 1/8 right there. And that should be it. Okay, so we have our spine set up and our guidelines set up. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in all of those images that I collected on my last computer day. And the tricky part is going to be arranging them in an attractive way. So remember, over here, this is the front of the book. So we want our best image nice and big right there. You know, our spine is here in the center, and this is the back cover. So this is probably the hardest part, is getting those images arranged in a way that looks nice. Remember, we are not removing images from the background. That's the good news. We are using layer mask to blend all the images together. So what is on the background of your image is also important and key to your overall design on the book cover. All right, so let's go ahead and start bringing those in. And this is going to be a little bit time consuming. So that's the last thing we'll be doing for today's tutorial, because I want to give you guys the time to get these arranged in a nice way. We won't be starting the blending and the layer mask until next time. Also, when I'm bringing these images in, there'll be some weird overlapping things that will eventually be blended out. So just keep that in mind, that this is not a finished product yet, and that it's going to have more work to do next time. Also, as you start designing your book, I want you to keep the principles of design in mind. To recall those, they're alignment, proximity, contrast, repetition. Also, you did learn a little bit about color theory. So think of a color scheme. Once you get all your images in there, what would be a great color for the title? What works well with the overall color of your book, and what's going to have a lot of contrast so that that book title really pops and is easy to read. So please keep these things in mind as you're building this book cover. So I will speed up through this next part. I'm just going to open up all my images, bring them into Photoshop, and arrange them in an attractive way. Okay, now I have the basic placement of my dinosaurs done, and notice that I have flipped many of them horizontal to be facing in a different direction, and I've named them in a way that's going to make it easy for me to find them, because as I add layer masks and start blending this all together, I'm going to need to readjust and make changes as needed. For example, this main T-Rex here is going to need to be a lot bigger because he's my main focus on the front page. So name these however it works for you best. So for this one, like I have Dino 6 front bottom. So I know that's my front bottom dinosaur. Then this one's called back bottom. And then my main one, I just called him T-Rex. So I know he's my main T-Rex image. And then back middle, top, front top, and back top. Okay, and also notice I have these transformed in a way that all of the white is gone at this point. And I may need to, as I'm blending these out, again, I may have to readjust and change all that. I did this fairly quickly, but remember, I've made this book cover before. So the thought process, I've already thought all through that, and I knew kind of where I wanted everything placed. That's why you get an entire computer day to get these things placed. So once you have that done, next time for the next tutorial, we're going to be adding our layer masks, blending these and fine-tuning their placement and size, and get this keyed in just right.